Welcome to the Odds Breakers, your number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Hell no, to the no, no, no. Hell to the no, hell to the no, to the no, no, no. Hell no, no, to the no, no. Hell to the no, no, to the no, 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 no. Hell to the no,
hell to the no. My friends, welcome back to podcast 50 of 2019. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can tweet me at OBKiev and tweet us at The Odds Breakers. Follow us on social media / The Odds Breakers. What a fantastic weekend of football. Was that Michigan versus Wisconsin game even close? Hell to the no. This episode is being sponsored by mybookie.ag for a 50% sign-up bonus. Actually, make that a 100% still sign-up bonus. Please visit MyBookie. Use the promo code TheOddsBreakers. Terms and conditions apply. If you'd like to help us out and sponsor our podcast and website, we'd love to help you out. Please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, and become a premium member for $17.99 a month. You'll get my plays and premium plays before the line moves. Already have 5 plays out this week. For college football, that is. A couple in the NFL as well. For $2 more, you can become a patron subscriber, get all that in the podcast a little bit early. And if nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a Free Picks newsletter subscriber. Free Picks killed it last week. Appalachian State moneyline hit. Buffalo's moneyline hit. And the over in the Syracuse game hit as well. That was fantastic. And we actually had another fantastic weekend. 12-7 Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in college football. Hit a nice middle on our largest bet, which was Kansas versus West Virginia under 54.5. We bought back at 49 and middled that. That was our largest play to premium subscribers. Then up 10 units in college. NFL wasn't great. It was 4-5-1. Down 2 units. We hit our teaser at least, but we started out very well in the NFL, so we're very profitable there as well. So just an all-around fantastic weekend of sports betting. Lots of crazy things happening, and we're going to start our recap with the NFL. Do you think that Antonio Brown is going to play again this year?
hell no, to the no, no, no.
Hell no, man. I don't even know why the Patriots took a chance on this guy. Obviously, it's bad for the league if you're going to be giving guys that completely screw their team over, be complete divas and make asses of themselves, and then give them more opportunities. Now, this show, of course, is not about people's feelings and about players and stuff like that, but I just wanted to mention that he was the wide receiver that probably was worth a point or so on your power ratings, and no other receiver is worth that. So that's the reason I wanted to quick mention Antonio Brown. I'm not sure, even if he joined another team, you really can't upgrade him because you don't know what's going to happen. He's claiming he's done with the NFL, which I completely do not believe. I think money's a big thing, and he's going to want some more of that next year when he finds out how many of his leeches are sucking off him, giving him terrible advice. I wish there were some people that had a clue. I wish there were some people in the NFL that can approach people and say, your friends suck. Your friends absolutely suck. Get rid of them. You know, the NFL needs to spend money on that and help some of these players out because, you know, they become such big stars, they don't even know what reality is anymore. Let's start with the Titans versus the Jaguars, and I'll tell you right now, I lean Titans, and it was a very small lean. But Gardner Minshew is just improving and improving. And when Nick Foles comes back, I'm not sure if Nick Foles should be starting. I might even grow a mustache if this guy keeps kicking ass and be a 70s Gardner Minshew for Halloween. But, we went under on the Titans team total. And right now, that under is looking pretty good. So we'll see what happens between these two teams in this division. But the Colts are certainly looking really well. Looking really good right now. The Bengals and the Bills. Now, almost middled this sucker. It's funny. I did have the Bills minus 5.5. Had some line value. Closed at 6 or 6.5 against the Bengals. And I used the Bengals side, teased that up. So I kind of used both sides there. I really thought it was going to be between 6 and 12, this score. But we almost had, and this is funny, we were almost on the opposite side of a bad beat because the Bills picked up a fumble and scored a touchdown. And the officials said that he gave himself up. Well, he just jumped on the ball, got up and ran into the touchdown. How are you giving yourself up? So, it was just almost like a double kick in the ass for that one. It's not often when you're on the other side of a bad beat. At least that's how it feels. And I wish it would have happened there. That one, I would have hit both. But either way, we cashed out on the teaser part of that one. Cowboys cover the huge spread against the Dolphins by 25 points. We are correct on this underplay. It played out exactly the way it should have. We don't need to talk much more about that, except that poor Josh Rosen, like I said before, he was actually 18 for 39. No interceptions, at least. His team sucks. So what can you do? We'll see if he's still the starter next week. He should be. Why start Fitzpatrick? What are you doing? It's like, are you going to hide the fact that you're going to draft Tua next year? Really? Broncos at Packers. Well, we teased the Packers down to 1 with that Cincinnati play, and that worked out really well. The Broncos have just been in a terrible position right now. Really tough schedule so far. God, that Raiders loss looks so bad right now, though. It just looks so bad. There might be some value on the Broncos coming up here. It's going to be another ugly one where you have to hold your nose, shut your eyes, and go and bet them. Colts took care of the Falcons by 3. That was a pretty close game. I really like Jacoby Brissett there. Like I said, I thought he was one of the best backups, and he's proven to be better than a lot of the current starters out there right now. Mitch. Anyways, Chiefs, Ravens. Now, if you had the under in this game or if you had the Chiefs side, I apologize for some awful officiating. They reviewed an offensive pass interference where I think it was Robinson. I'm not sure. One of the Chiefs, maybe it was Hardman, pushes the hell out of the Ravens defender, just throws him out of the way, catches the ball at the 1-yard line. And then they replay it. It's like, oh my God, this is obvious offensive pass interference. And the refs decide they said it wasn't, and they charged the Chiefs a timeout. It was the most obvious offensive pass interference I've ever seen. And looking in the replay, it was absolutely obvious. But they decided to keep it the same anyway. You know what the problem is? You're having the people that make the bad calls review their own plays. That's just like reviewing all your work that you did for the day at work and be like, oh, it's great. It's like the NFL. I'll tell you right now, I've never seen more of a screwed up organization, but especially in professional sports, they got worse than the NBA. I think the NFL needs to follow college football and start learning a little bit about football by following what college does, because it's a way better game right now. As a matter of fact, in college, I bet twice as much for a unit than I do in the NFL, because college is way more profitable, and way less variance. So I suggest you do the same unless you just happen to kill it in the NFL. Vikings killed the Raiders, and no surprise there. The Raiders have a very hard schedule. They're 1-2 right now. And I think it's just going to get worse for this Raiders team. They have the Colts coming up. Yeah. Ooh, jeez. Just going bad. Let's see here. Now, you know what? Here's the thing. Dalvin Cook right there. I mean, over 100 yards, a touchdown. Kirk Cousins didn't have to do much there. He didn't. He threw a touchdown. He was 15 to 21. Alexander Madison even had a touchdown. He's a pretty good running back. Good backup there. Patriots Jets. Now, we had the under in this one, and I missed it by a half point. This is another shitty one because the Jets scored that. The Jets scored that garbage touchdown. I guess not garbage, special teams touchdown, whatever. Whenever you bet an under, especially in the NFL, and then there's a special teams touchdown or a pick six, your under is extremely in jeopardy. I mean, in extreme jeopardy when that happens. That's how close this is. When you're betting the under in the NFL, you are betting that a special teams touchdown or a pick six does not happen. And so that's why it's so hard to bet Tampa Bay unders. That's why that was a really tough one. Lions beat the hell out of the Eagles. Just beat the shit out of them. Eagles look terrible. But the Eagles, you got to remember, they're very injured. I hope they make a move to help their defensive line. They used to have one of the better defensive lines. Now I think they have one of the worst ones after Malik Jackson went out. They really got to fix some stuff there. But to be honest with you, they're without a guard. They were out without Deshaun Jackson, a wide receiver. They were without Alshon Jeffrey, Timmy Jernigan, another defensive tackle. The Lions ran right all over them. And if some of these guys are back, there might be some value on the Lions or the Eagles for next week. Panthers destroyed the Cardinals. It's funny. My super contest picks were great. I had the Panthers +3. I was 4-1 in the super contest. And, otherwise, I think the thing that killed me was NFL totals. I'm probably going to just kind of take my foot off the gas a little bit on the NFL totals. But anyways, the Giants beat the Buccaneers. That was a huge thing for Daniel Jones. Buccaneers just tend to choke. I mean, they're up in this game at half. They were up 28-10 in the first half. Then they were outscored 15-0 in the third quarter, and then outscored 7-3 in the fourth to lose this game. Missed a field goal at the end. They get all the way down the field to Evans, super long pass, take a 5-yard stupid penalty while they had a timeout, making the field goal longer, and they missed it just by a hair. Talk about karma. Don't ever rely on your kicker if you don't have to. You had 12, 13 seconds. You could have took a shot in the end zone where you could have got like a pass interference at least drawn or something like that. I mean, chances of an interception are probably just as low as missing a field goal. But, it is Jameis Winston, I suppose. Texans killed the Chargers. The Chargers are in some trouble at 1-2. Like I said about Deshaun Watson, he's always in games. They're losing this thing 17-7. The Texans outscored the Chargers 20-3 in the second half. The Steelers lucked out this game by almost beating the 49ers, and they still lost. I think the turnover ratio was ridiculous. Pittsburgh fumbled twice, lost one of their fumbles, but San Fran fumbled 4 times and lost 3 of them. Garoppolo threw 2 interceptions, and Pittsburgh still lost. That's pretty pathetic right there. Maybe this team is that bad. I thought they improved in defense. They looked pretty good last year. I'm concerned about them, and I'll tell you this, that +7 we gave out, that wasn't a good bet. We won it, but that was not a good bet, apparently. I don't know what the hell happened to the Seahawks right there. Scoring all those points in the fourth quarter. They used to have the best home field advantage. Now they're 0-2 against the spread at home against the Saints. What the hell is going on with this team? Chris Carson's fumbling the ball. They just don't have a lot of firepower. They got DK Metcalf, Russell Wilson, and that's about it. Maybe a couple guys on their defense. And then finally, the Sunday night game, the Rams versus the Browns. Baker Mayfield probably wishes that Lincoln Riley was his coach right now, because scoring 13 points at home in a night game, it looked a little bit more like what the Bears did against the Packers. Browns are in some trouble. They are 1-2. The Rams are 3-0. But I think the Rams are a good fade team. They are not that good. Jared Goff is not that good. We'll see what the lines are next week. Let's move into college football for week 4 recap. My Lord, we have to start with Houston against Tulane for the Thursday night game. We had Tulane -3. It moved all the way up to -5. I thought we were dead in the water on this one, and they were losing 28-14 in the half. And Tulane scores 7-0. Then the officials make a terrible roughing call. These roughing calls need to be reviewed. The officials are getting them wrong more than 50% of the time. But anyways, it allowed Houston to tie the game. Tulane had a few seconds left. They throw a bomb pass. Their receiver catches it, scores a touchdown, beats poor Houston. Houston and Dana Holgorsen is 1-3. They still have a fantastic quarterback in De'Aaron King over there. Houston has had a very hard schedule. Wink, wink. Might be a play on them coming up. Utah versus USC. Man, I'll tell you this. USC just ruined the Pac-12's hopes right there with Utah. Now I think every single Pac-12 team has a loss except for good old Cal, right? Isn't Cal the only undefeated team there? I think it's Cal. I'm going to take a look right now. And yeah, the Cal Bears are 4-0. Can you believe it? Well, Cal beat Ole Miss. Ole Miss isn't that good. They're in an interesting spot right here, facing ASU, and then they have a big game coming up. I think it's against Oregon, so that's an interesting spot. Let's see here. Boise State took care of Air Force. We gave that one away for free last week. It hit. Boise won by 11 points. Air Force's quarterback went out, but so what? They're not exactly a huge throwing team anyway. When Air Force throws, the other team doesn't expect it. But they also throw when they're down. But Boise State, just such a great second half team. They seem to really pull it together. You know, I got to tell you, Boise State's coach might be underrated. I think after Chris Peterson left and went to Washington, everyone was kind of down on their coach coming in, and Harston is just pulls these kids together. You know, I think that there's some value on Boise State still going through this year. We'll see what happens and where these lines come out, obviously. But I'm a Boise State fan right now. Definitely, they're a solid team. They're probably going to win the Mountain West, and it's probably between them and Utah State. Let's go into the 9:00 games on Saturday. Michigan versus Wisconsin.
Hell no, to the no, no, no. Hell to the no, hell to the no, to the no, no, no.
Man, did you see Charles Woodson's face after this game? It looked like somebody just robbed him. It looked like somebody just literally stole his house or something. I mean, he was kind of like,
hell no, to the no, no, no.
Wisconsin pounded Michigan. Just like Harbaugh said, they won in every single facet of the game. They won in the trenches. They won in the skill positions. Jonathan Taylor looked amazing. And it wasn't just the offensive line. And yes, they opened up giant holes. You saw the backup running backs, which are all pretty much seniors for Wisconsin and very good players too. But the holes are huge. But Jonathan Taylor, bouncing off the line and just running around the end, that's some Saquon Barkley type stuff. That's the player that Jonathan Taylor reminds me of. And he's catching passes now as well. Okay. Now, Wisconsin, Jack Cohn has been amazing. No interceptions. Jonathan Taylor, no fumbles. The defense looks amazing. They could pass rush a little bit better, I think, but otherwise they look amazing. They're going to be without two safeties, though, Two of their starting safeties without because of targeting calls. One was complete BS by the ref. That official should not even be officiating games if that's a targeting call. And the second one was definitely correct. But either way, it's Northwestern at least. But Wisconsin's been on a revenge tour. If you haven't noticed, they're pissed off. Even though they're 8-5 last year, they didn't win the Big Ten West. They have every team that beat them circled. Northwestern was one of them from last year. I'm not going to get in Wisconsin's way. And you know what the whole national media is saying now? Rather than giving Wisconsin credit, they're pretty much saying about Michigan.
That's terrible.
They're just saying that Michigan, is the team that sucks, and they give up so many points. And I'll tell you, that Army game didn't help the cause here for Wisconsin. But Army, like I said many times before, also took Oklahoma last year into overtime. Oklahoma was a playoff team. There's some value on Michigan now. They opened up pretty large against Rutgers, but I have my eye on that one. Michigan's not as bad as you think. It's just Wisconsin was that good, I think, in my opinion. You'll see in the Big Ten power ratings, I made a pretty big adjustment. Even though I was way higher on Wisconsin than everybody else, I even had to move them up a bit. But I think what everybody's saying about Nebraska when they watched that Illinois game. Man, Nebraska almost lost that game. How pathetic. But like I said, I warned people about Illinois. I said they're older now. They have some good skill positions. They're going to be I expect to bring them above average. I have them below average still. I have them above average. I'm hoping to do that. LSU destroys Vanderbilt, and that's another team that had an extremely hard schedule that you might be able to find some value in. Vanderbilt, they played like 2 top 5 teams already. It's just sad what their schedule was, but we'll see. They at least scored 38 points against LSU. LSU is not the perfect complete team. They might be better passing than Wisconsin because we haven't seen Wisconsin do stuff like that. And I'll tell you right now, Wisconsin has been below. They haven't been losing and had to come back in a game. LSU was kind of neck and neck with Texas and proved that they can do that. What if Wisconsin's down by 14? We don't know if they can come back and throw that ball. It's a different mindset, going into the second, third quarter if you're losing. So we'll see if they're built and have the sticks to come back into a game. But that's all quarterback to receivers. And at least the Badgers have some pretty good receivers there with Cephas, Taylor, and Daniels. And Jack Cohn's looking good so far. But LSU, what I was saying before, I'm not sure if they have a good running game. Joe Burrow threw 400 yards and 6 TDs against Vanderbilt, but we don't know a lot about their running game. And I didn't think their pass rush was that great yet. Georgia's was definitely better. Auburn beat Texas A&M, and a lot of people talked me off about betting Auburn. Normally they're right, so no big deal. I almost bet Auburn +4, and a lot of people were on Texas A&M because they're home field advantage. But Auburn's just a better team. They're a complete team. They're playing Mississippi State this week. It's going to be really interesting. Auburn's 4-0. It looks like they're going to be creeping up into the LSU ranks right now, and they're going to be pretty close to Alabama if they keep winning like this. Florida destroys Tennessee. Nothing to see here. Texas beat Oklahoma State by 6. I think the spread went up to 7. You could have got Texas -4, and you could have bought back at +7 and middled this one. We didn't touch this game, but I'm just telling you there. Central Florida finally loses a regular season game, first time in 3 years against Pittsburgh. That was a dog I almost took. The spread went from 13.5 all the way down to 10. The Sharps were all over Pittsburgh. It was the right play. I am pretty impressed by what Pittsburgh did there. And we'll see what happens. Unfortunately, they face Delaware next week, so not a good position to fade them at. Stanford was a bad bet for us, getting destroyed by Oregon. And it wasn't even by that much. They lost by 15, but 10.5 was a spread. I was hoping for some garbage, but didn't get it. UCLA beats Washington State 67-63. Pathetic Washington State. Pathetic. There's a lot of turnovers in that game. Old Dominion keeps it close. Starts out 17-0 against Virginia. Then Virginia comes back to win, and especially in the fourth quarter, but 28-17. Everyone was on Old Dominion. I stayed away from it. I should have been on Old Dominion too. I had it marked down as a sandwich spot for Virginia, which it was. I didn't bet it because it went below 28. I was hoping for a 33, 32. Old Dominion is not nearly as bad as a lot of the power ratings said. Washington destroys BYU. Colorado beat ASU in that ASU letdown spot after Michigan State, like I said in letdown spots. Western Michigan, Syracuse goes way over. And Notre Dame, Georgia. Man, that game was fantastic. If Ian Book just spun the other way, he could have got a touchdown. If there was a guy running wide open on the right, but he had to throw off while falling backwards. That almost won the game, and Kirby Smart almost blew this game. When you're up 10 fucking points and there's a few minutes left, why the fuck are you kicking a field goal to be up 13 when all the other team needs to do is score 2 touchdowns to win? It's fourth down, a couple yards. You go for it. You go for it. Because you're at least up that one score anyway. It's that field goal right there. I completely disagree with it. Because this is college football. It stops after the clock stops after each first down. A good offensive team like Notre Dame could have scored 2 freaking touchdowns. You still have a shot in the game if you don't get that fourth down because you're in your side of the field. Or I'm sorry, you're on the Notre Dame side of the field. That was absolutely stupid coaching. Kirby Smart, he just tries to blow games. Notre Dame could have easily won this game. Look how close that was. What a fantastic game. And it was extremely loud over there. Athens, the crowd was completely into it. Absolutely into it. I'm going to look at that Notre Dame spread coming into Virginia here. See what happens there. Like I said, Buffalo rolled Temple, and Temple's look-ahead spot to, their sandwich spot after beating Maryland. Looking ahead to their old coach in Georgia Tech. Almost bet Kent State minus 11.5, and I should have. They destroyed Bowling Green. Our Kent State ticket over 4 wins is looking decent. Already have 2 of them right there. And, they still have some pretty easy teams on their schedule. Akron, they're terrible. Miami of Ohio's not looking that good. They get to play Ball State at home. They might get Buffalo. We'll see what happens there. So I'm pretty happy about that. What else we have? That's about it. I think that kind of covers the big games. I never do an in-deep analysis here, but what I do like to do that brings a lot of value is talk about misleading final scores of week 4. And the reason this brings value is because when there's something misleading, there's sometimes value on the team that outgained the other team, even though they lost the next coming week. And that's obviously because the public bettors will fade that team just for losing, even though they had 5 stupid fumbles and outgained the guys by 100 yards. So remember that. Utah versus USC. Utah outgained USC 457 to 368 yards. About 90 yards, 89. And they had 1 less turnover, but still lost by 7. USC had that night game and the night crowd. Might be some value on Utah next week. Air Force versus Boise State. They both had 355 yards, but Air Force lost by 10. Boise State's just really buttoned up in the 4th, but that game was a little bit closer than the final score showed. FIU versus LA Tech. FIU outgained Louisiana Tech 394 to 290. 104-yard difference, yet lost by 12. Oh, FIU. Is Morgan going to be the quarterback there? Butch Davis, pull this team together. Bad coaching, it looks like, in this game. Houston versus Tulane. Houston outgained Tulane 533 to 511 yards, and it wasn't even that close. It was because that super long touchdown Tulane got at the end on that just goof play, but they still lost by 7, and they outgained Houston. Western Michigan versus Syracuse. Western Michigan outgained Syracuse, and that's why I lean Western Michigan by 12 yards, but they lost the turnover battle 4-2, and that's why they lost by 19 points. That's misleading. Nebraska versus Illinois. Nebraska outgained Illinois 690 to 299 yards, a 391-yard difference, yet only won by 4. Brutal. Ball State versus NC State. Ball State outgained NC State by 29 yards, yet lost by 11. They also won the turnover battle 1-3. Temple versus Buffalo. Temple outgained Buffalo by 10 yards and lost by 10. 4-2 turnover ratio did it in for Temple. They had 4 turnovers. Auburn versus Texas A&M. Texas A&M outgained Auburn by 98 yards, yet lost by 8. Auburn's running game controlled the clock in this game. That's what it was all about, clock management. That's why I love teams that can pound the ball. Appalachian State versus North Carolina. North Carolina outgained App State by 84 net yards, yet lost by 3. The 3-1 turnover ratio killed them, and I kind of expected that through freshman quarterback Sam Howell, his 2 interceptions. That's why I bet App State was I thought App State was just more buttoned up. Cal versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss outgained Cal by 92 yards, yet lost by 8. Oh, poor Ole Miss. UCLA versus Washington State. This is a big one. Washington State outgained UCLA by 63 yards, yet lost the game 67-63 because of the 6-1 turnover ratio. That's awful. 6-1. Washington State is a much better team, I think, than UCLA. 6-1 turnover ratio. Brutal.
Hell no. To the no, no, no.
All right, now it's time to get into a little bit of let down spots, get up spots, and look ahead spots for college football week 5, my friends. All right, so Wisconsin hosting Northwestern after beating Michigan. This is a letdown spot. Whiskey is down 2 safeties for the first half from targeting, so something to think about there. But Northwestern looks pretty bad, and Wisconsin is there on their revenge tour, and Northwestern's next on the list. San Jose State at Air Force. San Jose State beat SEC Arkansas. San Jose State was the worst team in the league last year. It's just embarrassing. Auburn hosting Mississippi State after beating Texas A&M is a small letdown spot. Cal hosting ASU after beating SEC Ole Miss. Bad week for the SEC. Well, for the bad teams, I guess. Buffalo at Miami of Ohio after beating Temple is a letdown spot. Appalachian State hosting Coastal Carolina is a good one after App State beat UNC. North Carolina. Pitt hosting Delaware, I suppose, after they beat UCF, but Delaware's pretty bad. SMU at South Florida after SMU beat TCU for the first time in 7 years. UCLA at Arizona after beating Washington State. Man, what a bad game for Washington State. Now Cal's the only undefeated team left in the Pac-12. Oh, man. And we have, of course, USC at Washington after USC beat top 10 Utah. So there it is, my friends. Your betting spots for letdowns, and let's go right into get-ups. TCU hosting Kansas after losing to SMU is a get-up spot. ASU at Cal after losing to Colorado. Possibly bet that low under. It's going to be a very defensive game. BYU at Toledo after losing to Washington's a get-up spot. Temple at Georgia Tech. Remember what I said about the old coach? Vanderbilt hosting Northern Illinois University. It's a scheduling spot to get it right, man. Vanderbilt had a very tough schedule so far, playing Georgia and LSU. UCF hosting UConn after losing their first regular season game in 3 seasons. Poor UConn. They're going to get stuffed. I think the spread's like 43. Western Michigan hosting Central Michigan after outgaining Syracuse and losing. Texas A&M hosting Arkansas. And Texas A&M lost to Auburn, and they're going to want to put one on Arkansas. Look ahead spots. Cincinnati could be looking past Marshall to UCF. That's their big game right there. Auburn could be looking past Mississippi State to Florida. They could be. It's kind of a letdown. Kind of a look ahead. A little bit of a sandwich. Cal could be looking past ASU to Oregon. Now, this looks like a sandwich spot to me because Cal just beat an SEC team. Now they have to look to Oregon. Are they going to look past ASU? They're very possible. Very, very possible. And that's why you see the spread bouncing from 3 to 4, kind of back and forth there right now. Utah State could be looking past Colorado State to LSU. Very possible. Very, very possible. All right, let's get right into my Big Ten power ratings. And we have Ohio State at upgraded from last week from 21.5 to 22.5 by 4th best team. And they're catching Georgia right there. ESPN has them at 27.1. Team Rankings has them at number 1 at 34.1. And to think ESPN had them at 14 at the beginning of the season. Ugh. That's a bad projection. Wisconsin is second now in the Big Ten at 18.5. Just a complete team, like I said before, beating Michigan. ESPN has them all the way to 21. Team Rankings has them to 28.1, ranked 4th. I disagree with that, but they're getting up there. Michigan took their spot down to 15.5. ESPN has them at 12.5. Team Rankings has them at 14.3. They're kind of the Michigan State of last year. Just an ass whooping. Michigan State 14, a little bit up. I mean, they destroyed Northwestern. Northwestern's not a good team. ESPN has them at 14.8. Team Rankings has them at 15.9. They went to Northwestern and did it. Upgrades everywhere. Iowa stays the same at 13 for me. ESPN has them a little down at 11.6. Team Rankings a little up at 11.8. Had a bye week. Penn State had a bye week. I kept them at 12. ESPN has them down to 18.7. Team Rankings has them a little down to 19.1. They probably put them down because of that bad Michigan loss. I don't know. Because they kind of look at everything from the strength of the conference. Minnesota off a bye themselves. I kept them at 11. ESPN kept them at 5.1, and Team Rankings has them all the way down to negative 0.5. I disagree with that, but we'll see. Nebraska, I downgraded them slightly from 9 to 8 from just turning the ball over, playing sloppy against Illinois. I had to a little bit, but I'm still higher than them, higher than ESPN at 5.9 and Team Rankings at 6.9. I'm higher on Nebraska than them. And Northwestern down from 7 to 4.5, one of my biggest adjustments. I was wrong about them, and I shouldn't have bet them. ESPN has them at negative 0.7. Team Rankings has them at 1.2. Indiana beat UConn. Whoop-de-freaking-do. 5.5. I downgraded them slightly. Actually, no. I kept them the same. I didn't change them for beating UConn. I think it was just no reason to. ESPN upgrades them to 2.9. Team Rankings upgrades them to 4.3. God, just fresh off that Ohio State loss, too. I don't see why they should be upgraded there. Maryland, I have them at 5 off a bye. And Maryland is at 8.8, still high on ESPN, and 13.9 on Team Rankings. Maryland's not that good, guys. Come on. All right, Purdue, kept them the same off the bye. They're at 2 points, and ESPN has them at minus 1.6, and Team Rankings has them at minus 0.2. Illinois, I have at minus 2. ESPN has them at minus 4.7. Team Rankings at minus 0.5. No credit when you get outgained by like 300 yards and keep it close because you benefited from a bunch of turnovers. I'm not going to give you credit for that. And then Rutgers lost to a team that lost to Kansas. Poor Rutgers. Once again, the little sister of the poor in the Big Ten. And now it is time for our free pick of the podcast. And we have to go right to a team that we faded last week. Because remember last week when we said Buffalo was going to beat Temple because they're looking ahead to Georgia Tech? Well, now we have to play on Temple because they are playing their old coach, Jeff Collins, that left them high and dry. And they play them at home, baby. Temple, as we know, actually outgained Buffalo by 10 yards, but lost the turnover battle. They could have beat Buffalo if they kind of got their heads straight. But we have to now be on Temple because the reason we faded them is because of how important that game was to them. If you look at Georgia Tech, who have they played? Yes, they played Clemson, got their asses kicked 52-14. Wasn't even that close, of course. And then they played South Florida, which is pretty bad. And then the Citadel. They lost to the Citadel 24-27. Lost to them. South Florida, they won 14-10. And South Florida is a terrible team. Georgia Tech only averages 4.76 yards per play, and they give up 5.95. Okay? That's 1.2 yards per play difference. And I know Clemson's in there, but you still have those other two bad teams. But Temple played Maryland. They're not that bad. They played at Buffalo. And, of course, they played Bucknell's their bad team. But they at least average 6.08 yards per play and only give up 3.67 yards per play. That's like 2.4 difference. And yes, go ahead. Take out the Bucknell one. They're still a pretty good team that played pretty tough schedule. Georgia Tech is in trouble here. They lost most of their production last week. Their coach knows that they have it coming to them, and this is kind of a honeymoon year for the coach, Jeff Collins, anyway. I really think that Temple is in a load of trouble. I like the minus 9.5. I like it all the way up to 13. Take the Temple Owls and don't look back, baby. All right, let's get into a little fantasy football with my man, D. Nasty. All right, and now we have our guy, Mr. D. Nasty, back to talk about fantasy football week 4 and your lineup. This week's episode is being sponsored by Thrive Fantasy DFS, a fantasy football site for prop betting. For a $10 bonus, please visit theoddsbreakers.com/thrive-DFS. Give it a shot. It's really fun. Dave, my man, huge week of fantasy football. We are already to week 4. Lots of crazy news out there. lots of crazy people in the NFL, my man. I mean, Antonio Brown, I mentioned him earlier in the podcast because he's worth actually a little bit to sports betting, but to fantasy, he was the best receiver for a couple years. And, I mean, just like me and you kind of predicted at the beginning, remember how we downgraded him pretty low in our draft, but you had him lower than me, so I guess you were more right than me. What a nut job.
No kidding.
Do you think he's going to play again this year?
I don't think so. They just said he enrolled back at Central Michigan and for classes now, supposedly. I don't know if that's one of his ploys or what, but he's just an idiot. I wouldn't roster him on any fantasy rosters right now anyways. Even if he does come back, maybe, but who knows right now. He's like another Le'Veon Bell from last year.
What if he has a year in eligibility left at Central Michigan? Imagine what that would look like. He'd last about a week and realize that a child's throwing to him, and
yeah,
he'd be better off just throwing the ball up in the air and trying to run and catch it the way Central Michigan looks this year. But I have no clue, and I highly doubt he would embarrass himself by doing that. But the dude seems crazy enough to do anything, so I wouldn't put anything past him. Just legal troubles, threatening his accusers, just all kinds of bad stuff. He'll be lucky to ever play again, in my opinion. I think he will play again, but it won't be this year. I think he's going to finally get his ass and have a reality check. But right now, he's kind of still living in an imaginary world. He probably actually thinks like everybody's on his side or he's right or something. Weird dude, but whoever drafted Antonio Brown is sure taking it pretty hard right now because he was mostly picked in the second round, and it's just not looking good. But let's focus on the positive, Dave. It is week 4 now, so I think you have something to remind our listeners about week 4.
I do. One thing, though, on Antonio Brown is ever since he got hit by a Burfict in the NFL game several years ago, he has actually been the same. That's a lot of people out there talk about that as a theory, too, on why his head's kind of messed up now, too. So concussions, who knows, could play a part in it somewhat as well. But
we don't need that nonsense, Dave. Come on. We like our football. Come on. No, actually, I just think he just got paid so much money. He's always been a diva. He's always been crying for the ball. Yeah, he's just got one of those typical wide receiver Terrell Owens syndrome. It's just it's seriously. It reminds me a lot of how Owens acted. It reminds, but worse, of course. I mean, of course, his accusations are terrible. But what are you going to remind us of, bud?
All right, we got buys coming up this week, so you definitely want to get those guys out of your lineup that have buys this week. So we have the Jets on bye this week, so Le'Veon Bell. I know no one's going to have Luke Falk, so don't worry about him. Or Jamison Crowder, I hope you're not starting him as well. But definitely get Bell out of your lineup. And then 49ers, you might have a couple guys on the 49ers. We've been talking up the running backs the last few weeks, so if you have Garoppolo or you have Mossert or you have Breida, you definitely get them all of your lineups as well. So just make sure you check your lineups for any of those guys on bye.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, any of the receivers there, too. Now, thing about the Niners is they might get Telvin Coleman back after the bye. So another little wrench in your running back trio, and it's just possibly that Burrito's going to be worth less, Mostert's going to be worth less, and Wilson's been scoring some touchdowns, but I don't even know if that's going to last. Keep your eyes open. I'd still, look at Wilson since he's been doing pretty well, but that'll just bring me right into the key injuries, and I'll start here. Shady McCoy re-injured his ankle, so he's going to be questionable again. I think he's just going to kind of be one of those guys that's always questionable and hobbled. That's a real stressful situation for any shady owners right there. Saquon Barkley, poor guy. High ankle sprain. I've had high ankle sprains before, Dave, rolling my ankle in basketball. I was one time playing on a barn foundation back in the sticks, man, back in farm country, and my ankle got caught, and I fell down, and it went past the floor. It rolled so bad because I was coming off of a foundation about a foot or two up in the air and caught this little groove in the concrete, and it was the worst ankle sprain I ever had. I don't think I could walk for about a week and a half, and even if I could, the thing was done. I couldn't run for at least 6 weeks. So I don't know how bad this one is for Barkley, but they're saying 4 to 8 weeks, man. That's pretty significant. Cam Newton, foot injury is week to week, but he's out again next week. Probably a good thing for the Carolina Panthers. I'll get a little bit more into that later. Michael Crabtree got cut by the Cardinals. He's toast. This guy's had a lot of chances already. I don't even see another team picking him up unless severe injuries happen to their team. He's not that good. That's the problem. He lost his any speedy that he ever had. T.Y. Hilton re-aggravated his quad, so be watching for him. He probably won't practice this week. Injury update: A.J. Green is not going to be back next Monday. You know, people were thinking about it, but nope, he's still out. Quick update on Sam Darnold. Injury, he might actually play next week, they're saying now, after getting mono and everything. So I don't know. I thought he was going to be out 4 weeks at least, but I heard a report today that he might play. I guess he just better not show up at any more makeout parties. And maybe he can remain healthy. Julian Edelman, day to day from his chest injury. He got a chest injury, and we thought it was worse than it was, but he's day to day. And that's all I have. Dave, is there anything I missed there?
You hit most of them, Kiev. I got a couple other ones. Alan Hearns, wide receiver for the Dolphins, did not return after sustaining a concussion. They had Ito Smith, the backup for the Atlanta Falcons, with a concussion as well. Then we had a couple lesser-known tight ends. Vance McDonald for the Steelers suffered a shoulder injury. Tight end Virgil Green was ruled out against the Texans with a groin injury. Then we had a couple key IDP guys, if you guys do the IDP leagues. Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward for the Browns. Greedy Williams with a hamstring and Denzel Ward with a hamstring. And then Rashard Higgins, the wide receiver, he's actually been coming on a little bit lately. He's also with a knee injury. And then a couple other guys. The Falcons have been hit pretty hard on the defensive side again. Tack McKinley, and then their safety, Keanu Neal, both are going to be out for a little bit too. So
Keanu Neal's out for the season. He tore his Achilles, and that's bad. And I'll tell you this is good for any receivers playing them. So he sucks for him. He tore his ACL week 1 last year, and now week 3 he's out again. Poor guy.
Yeah, I can't catch a break, man. And then actually the one injury I wanted to note too, Mike Daniels, the guy who doesn't want to play with the Packers anymore, who we cut, is actually injured for the Lions. So goodbye, Mike Daniels. I don't really care if you don't play for the Packers anymore.
Wow, a little bitterness in our fantasy show, I see. Holy cow. You've been dying to say that one, haven't you, Dave? Well, I'm sure most of our listeners don't do IDP, but sometimes they're worth a quick mention. So good enough. Why don't you lead us right into the waiver wire?
Some big waiver wire pickups this week, actually. Wayne Gellman, he's going to be at the top of your list this week. He's going to be getting a majority of the carries now with Saquon Barkley out. So definitely put him at the top of your list. He's only owned in 4% of leagues right now on Yahoo. So definitely, if you free agent budget, I would spend probably at least 30% of your free agent budget on this guy. I don't see him being like a Saquon Barkley, though, so don't get your high hopes on this guy. But he will be a solid running back if you do need a running back to plug in. Another guy you want to definitely pick up is Darrell Williams. I actually picked him back up in our Dynasty League. He had 14 touches this week, and he had 109 yards. Andy Reid actually used Williams to ice the game on a screen pass, and he closed out the game after McCoy got hurt again. So definitely look into him. Another guy, C.J. Prosey for the Seahawks. Carson did fumble again this last week, losing his 3rd fumble of the season. And Rashard Penny was out with a hamstring injury. He might be questionable for this week as well. So C.J. Prosey could be a good guy to get.
Prosey also gets some targets in the passing game. So he's the guy. If they sour on Carson now, just real quick, Pete Carroll came out and said he still believes in Chris Carson, but they all say that. I think one more fumble and the guy's going to be second stringer.
Exactly. But I definitely like Rashard Penny there in the backfield better once he's healthy, though, just the FYI. But if you're desperate for a running back this week, definitely pick him up. Philip Dorsett, another guy for the New England Patriots, who were talking about AB out. Philip Dorsett is definitely a guy you want to look at. He played on 84% of the snaps in week 1 with Brown out of the lineup. And then this past week, he had 6 to 7 targets for 53 yards and a touchdown. So definitely up-and-coming receiver for the Patriots. DJ Shark from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think we talked about him briefly last week as well. But he keeps coming on. He saw five of the targets this past week, converting 4 of them for 76 yards and a score. So definitely another guy you want to take a look at. Another guy I really like too is Preston Williams. Even though the Dolphins haven't done very well this year, he's their actually main receiver now, wide receiver. He's scoring between 8 to 10 points every week in half PPR formats. And he's definitely a guy you want to take a look at for the Dolphins. And then at tight end, Will Dissly for the Seahawks. If you needed a tight end, he's definitely primary pass-catching tight end for the Seahawks now. Russell Wilson does like him a lot. So if you need a tight end, definitely look at him.
Nice, absolutely. Dissly's really been getting a ton of stuff. I wonder how much he's owned. Did you say that?
Dissly is 45% right now. He went up quite a bit since last week, so 45% right now in Yahoo leagues.
All right, so that's still under our 50% threshold. If it's under 50%, if it's 50% or over, we usually don't mention it. But yeah, Will Dissly's a huge target for Russell Wilson now, and he seems to be always open when Metcalf and Lockett are running people deep. So he's been getting a lot of points. Good job, Dave. A lot of good ones there. Zach Pascal, if T.Y. Hilton's going to be banked up, he might be worth a look from the Indianapolis Colts. And you might have mentioned this one last week. We don't like to mention it 2 weeks in a row, but Jacoby Brissett needs to be rostered if he isn't in your league. He's only owned in 20% of Yahoo leagues. Kyle Allen, I'm going to tell you right now, Cam Newton was the only quarterback worse than Mitch Trubisky the first 2 weeks. and right now, Kyle Allen, he kicked ass, and he's better than Cam Newton. And I know it's too early to say that, but let's just say the Cam that I saw the last year, Kyle Allen looked better this game. And last year when Kyle Allen played the Saints, he looked good. I think Kyle Allen wins this starting job. Hot take. I like him. Yeah, 100%. Wayne Gallman, jump all over him. There's going to be no committee there. Get Wayne Gallman. At the same time, it's the Giants, and you wonder if they're going to pass more with their new quarterback there that we mentioned last week with Daniel Jones. You probably mentioned Darrell Williams. Damien's still out, right? I'd say Darrell Williams is important. We mentioned him last week, I believe. Completely agree with you with CJ Procise. He needs to definitely be owned. And Jeff Wilson, if Coleman's out for the Niners, then I suppose Jeff Wilson is getting the goal line carries. Shanahan even said something like that. So I was wrong about him. I kind of he was on my hate list after he had that first week, but no, I was wrong. I think he needs to be owned. If I'd say owned for if you're desperate more than anything, but he just watch the Niners right there. They do get a lot of the running backs involved. That's important.
Yeah, it's hard to say, right? Like them and New England too. They have a lot of running backs there too. Like Rex Burkhead. I know we talked about him briefly last week too, but he's another guy you want to pick up this week too. But them and New England and 49ers both use a lot of running backs, so it's really tough to pick one out of the bunch.
So James White was benched last week. He's a healthy scratch, I think, Dave.
He was having a baby.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what really helped Burkhead again too. And I was a White owner in a dynasty league. Glad I got the news and I benched him right away. But Burkhead's just been still ripping it up. So I agree, Dave. He's an absolute good player to own right now, especially if you're one of those people with like a Dolphins running back or something. There's just some bad running backs up there. Gurley's hasn't been that good this year. Oh, he's been, but you still have to keep playing Gurley. It's just, it's just been hit and miss. But there's a few out there that you can still possibly roster and have some good luck with in the future. Well, let's go right into busts then, Dave, for this week. No, actually, before bust, let's do trending for week 4. That's what we do. Sorry, I went out of order. Trending for week 4. I'll start out. I have Marquez Valdez-Scantling against a weak Eagles secondary. Their secondary has been really bad. You saw what the Lions did to them last week. And speaking of the Lions, Dave, we just got done watching the Bears beat up the Redskins, and I mean, the Bears mismanaged a bit the second half, but they still won by 31-15. I think the NFC North, Dave, is the best division in football. Every team, the only Vikings loss is the Packers. Only Bears lost to the Packers. Packers are 3-0, and the Lions are 2-0-1. They beat the Chargers, then they beat the Eagles. It's like, what is going on here?
Yeah, and those are 2 quality wins too.
No doubt. It's like the team that you thought was going to be bad might be a playoff team for what they're doing here. And it's like, who's going to be the first one out? It's just going to be a match, but they're taking care of all their other games. And I know it's early, but right now I think the NFC North is definitely the best. But Valdez-Scantling is actually available in a lot of leagues. I saw he's available in your Yahoo league. I was kind of surprised in that. And I think some other leagues might have him. He had one bad game last week, and Allison got that long touchdown pass. But no, Scantling came back and did well again. He's important. A.J. Brown, I like him against the Falcons with safety Keon O'Neal out. I think A.J. Brown might have a big game. The Titans are desperate. They're going to throw it to big A.J. Brown. I like Jacoby Brissett against the terrible Raiders defense. He is going to pick through them. I love Jacoby Brissett this week. DJ Moore, with Kelly throwing to him now, is trending up. Some people were benching DJ Moore because of Cam. Now I like him as a starter again, at least a wide receiver 2 even. Brandon Cooks versus the Buccaneers secondary. He's going to have a good game. Justin Jackson may be used for garbage time because they're playing the Miami Dolphins this week. So, because Eckler is going to get a lot of his stuff in the first half, but they might just bench him and put Jackson in the second half. And Daniel Jones playing the Redskins. And they might not have that good of a running game without Saquon, so they might be throwing the ball a lot. So I like Daniel Jones right there. Who are your trending up, Dave?
I definitely agree with a lot of the guys you were talking about. I like MBS, the Packers. Aguilar has actually been playing really well, and actually the Packers have had trouble stopping the run, so I do like Miles Sanders actually a lot for the Eagles. Packers have not really stopped a lot of running backs so far this year. Dalvin Cook had a big day against them, and then last week they couldn't stop the running backs either. So I definitely like Miles Sanders this week against the Packers. I do like the Falcons matchup for the Titans. Actually, I like Corey Davis actually instead of A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown didn't get many targets last week, but Corey Davis actually had 4 catches. So I think Corey Davis, he's a sleeper kind of on my list this week. A guy that's trending up because I think he's still got the potential to be a breakout player. I think this week could be his week against the Falcons. And I do actually also like Daniel Jones. Another guy, too, that we didn't talk about on our pickups is Darius Slayton. He's a number 3 option, and he's a rookie for the Giants. He's a guy you want to keep an eye on, too. He's trending up as well. With Daniel Jones throwing the ball more, he could get some looks this week as well against the poor Redskins defense. And then the Chargers, definitely like both those running backs as well. Kiev, that's a good pick on both those. Eckler and Jackson, I think, can both have big days. Allen could have another huge day, monster day like he did last week as well. Definitely play them. Mack and Brissett, I like both of them too as well.
Well, I think. See, and I know that Eckler's a for sure start now.
Yeah.
Mack's a for sure start now, so we can't really mention them for trending up. These are for guys that might be on your bench or even waiver wires that I think. But at the same time, I do. Yeah, thank you. Justin Jackson will have a big week.
And then I do like the Bills. I like Frank Gore, actually. He's a guy you might not have been starting so far this week, but with Singletary out, I think Frank Gore could have another good game this week. He's just the ageless wonder. He just keeps scoring and putting up points. So definitely I like him this week against the Patriots. The Patriots have been a little shaky on defense lately. And then the Rams.
They have? They have not. Who have they given up points to? I mean, the Jets got a garbage touchdown, but the other touchdown was a punt block. So
yeah, but look who they've been playing. They've been playing the Jets and the Dolphins.
Yeah, yeah, they played the easiest schedule for sure so far. But their D still looks good. Okay, so this is one that this rarely happens, Dave. I'll just mention it right now. I have Frank Gore on my bust list for this week because a lot of people are going to start him. So me and you might have to have a side bet here. I like it.
I'm all for it.
All right.
So and then I like the Rams players this week against the Buccaneers. And then the Cardinals, actually, Seahawks have been playing pretty well. So I do like the Seahawks running backs against the Cardinals. Cardinals haven't really showed much on defense. So I do like Chris Carson this week and Rashard Penny if he does play this week.
Yeah, Penny for sure if he plays. Absolutely. The Cardinals, this might be a good get-up spot for the Seattle, but the Cardinals, they got to be desperate by now, man. Just getting their butts beat every week, and they came back against the Lions. You saw a little bit of hope, but the Cardinals are still the Cardinals. You have to remember they still don't have a lot of talent on that team. I want to go right into bust then for week 4. I actually have Gardner Minshew as a bust against the Broncos D. I don't think he's going to do a lot for fantasy. They might win the game, but I don't think he's going to put up a lot of points. And to go along with him, I have Leonard Fournette as a bust against the Broncos D. The Bears didn't get a lot going on the run, and that was at the Broncos. And I think that Jacksonville is going to Mile High Stadium, and the Broncos are always good in September in Mile High. I do have Phillip Lindsay as a bust against the Jaguars D2. I think this is the week he calms down a little bit. Nick Chubb, I have him as a bust against the Ravens D because I think the Ravens are going to put up some points and it's going to be more of a shootout mentality for Cleveland than running the ball to Nick Chubb, Dave. So I have Nick Chubb as a bust. Like I mentioned about Frank Gore facing the Patriots D, this might be the best defense I've ever seen from the Patriots. Yet you're right, Dave. I shouldn't overreact too much. They played an easy schedule, but the Steelers weren't supposed to be easy. So at least they played that game. But they shut the Steelers down to 3 freaking points with Big Ben. So we'll see. This will tell you everything you need to know about the Steelers D, but I'm not starting Frank Gore. And then Dave, my biggest, this might have been one of the biggest things I was right about. I called O.J. Howard a bust during our draft show. Everyone had him in their top 5. I couldn't see why. This guy has been the biggest tight end bust out of any top 5 tight end that I can ever remember. O.J. Howard playing the Rams, super bust. Don't touch him. I'm not even sure if I would roster the guy. So those are my busts, my man. What do you have for busts?
Actually, just one quick note too. Deontay Johnson is one guy that I do like this week as well, as one of the sleepers this week too for the Steelers. They're playing the Bengals. I do like him a lot as well this week. He's one of the guys we didn't talk about on our pickups list, but he's the guy I want to just say that he's a sleeper for this week as well before I go into my busts. And then 2 other notes too is Golden Tate and Chris Herndon both coming back from suspension. So definitely if those guys are available in your leagues at tight end and receiver, if you need help at one of those positions, just make a note of that too, that those guys are coming back from suspension actually after week 4. So you might want to pick them up this week just to get ready to roster them before people are starting to pick them back up. So my bust this week, I do like some of your busts as well. I say Peyton Barber, he might be in danger of losing his job for the Buccaneers, and they're playing the Rams. So I definitely think Payne Barber and O.J. Howard. I don't like either one of them against the Rams. I do not like Teddy Bridgewater. A lot of people are up on him after his good game last week. I'm not a big Teddy Bridgewater fan, especially against the Cowboys this week. I think he's going to be a bust this week. I agree with you on the Browns. I think Chubb and Mayfield, the only reason Mayfield may not be is because they might be playing from behind against the Ravens, and they may need to catch up. So I think he's going to be a bust. I think Matt Stafford, he's actually played pretty well, and the Chiefs do not have a very good defense, but I look for him to have a poor game this week as well against the Chiefs. They have a pretty decent secondary, so I look for Stafford to actually be a bust. That might be a surprise one for some of you guys out there, but I think Matthew Stafford might have a poor game this week as well. And then actually Deshaun Watson, I look for him to have a pretty good game. Kyle Allen, I think, will struggle against the tough Texans D. He did look good this past week, but I look for him to be kind of a bust this week as well.
Yeah, the Texans D is weird. I mean, when they have a pass rush, they look really good. When they don't have a pass rush, they look terrible. The Chargers started out winning that game 17-7, and all of a sudden they blew it at the second half. And yeah, I don't know. I agree with you on Bridgewater. I definitely do. I'm not so sure about Kyle Allen yet, though. Maybe. But yeah, the other ones are pretty good. Matt Stafford, he probably wasn't started by a lot of people. And, maybe people are thinking about starting him now. I would wonder if the Lions versus the Chiefs is going to be more of a shootout mentality with a high total of over 50-some points. from the Vegas line. So I'm not sure if I agree with that one, but the other ones I definitely agree with. Matt Stafford, you wonder if he's going to calm down. We were really low on the Lions, right? I mean, they look terrible in preseason, but that's preseason. I didn't like Matt Patricia, their coach, and he's starting to prove me wrong a little bit. We're going to learn a lot more about a couple of these teams. The Lions is one of them, the Vikings is one of them, and the Bears are one of them, because the Bears play the Vikings. I don't like any of those players either this week. I think I'd hold back on the fantasy offenses. I maybe play the defenses for sure. Minnesota and Chicago defenses might be good calls, but I think those will possibly be busts anyway. Well, Dave, let's get right into our nasty sleeper of the week. Mine last week, Nelson Aguilar kicked butt. He scored quite a few points. I did see him catch at least one touchdown last week. He did awesome. I was happy about making that call. Hopefully some of you picked up Aguilar and started him last week. This week, my nasty sleeper of the week is Jacoby Brissett playing the Raiders. This screams 3 touchdowns or more to win your fantasy week. I would almost even have him borderline top 5 quarterback this week. Dave, who do you have?
This week I'm going with Miles Sanders as my D-Nasty sleeper of the week. Packers, like I said, the Packers haven't had good run defense the past couple weeks. Dalvin Cook made him just look ridiculous. So I'm going with Miles Sanders, a young rookie for the Eagles, as my D-Nasty sleeper of the week this week.
All right, fantastic, Dave. Thanks again for coming on and breaking down fantasy football week 4. If you have any questions for Dave, please tweet him at DNastyFantasy or tweet us at The Odds Breakers. Have a fantastic week and go get some winners.